Hey everybody, this is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of having one of our own here on Skype, contributing writer, staff, and family member, Kilian Duarte. And
Hey guys.
we were very excited at last Winter NAMM when Kilian shared with us that he was getting a signature bass from J Ferro, J Ferro. And as good things take time, it took a little while for him to get it, and now he has it. So we are so excited that we want Kilian to tell us about this new signature bass. We can see it there. Kilian, tell us about this beauty. What have you got going on there?
Well, I want to start off to thank obviously Bass Musician Magazine as well as J Ferro for the opportunity to, be this involved in the bass community and to have the opportunity. I wouldn't necessarily be here to have something like this if it wasn't for the support of people like you. But to start off, let's go over some of the specs. I'm very happy and very grateful for this. So the KD ES5 is based off of Jose's Escalon model that he has, which is normally a 2 P-bass pickup configuration with this very beautiful modern style body shape. Now, I want it modeled after one of my old jazz basses that I very much loved, and my love for 70s jazz basses and stingrays. So start off, the body. Escalon body shape. It is a humbucker and single coil jazz bass configuration. This first initiation of it has just got a standard blend control to control it. But the next iteration of the bass is going to also have a coil tap. So you can just make it into a straight jazz bass, which I very much love because I love jazz basses and I love how they sound. Regardless, though, I love this because the proprietary pickups which Jose utilizes are incredibly punchy. They're very quiet, so they're great for recording. I already did 2 records this year with them. And they're very authentic sounding, meaning that when I put this guy on the rear pickup, for me, I have a little practice amp here, so it's not going to be as authentic, but it sounds like a Stingray, like a really nice Music Man Stingray with a lot of articulation and a lot of, just string balance that you want out of that. The front pickup sounding authentically like a single coil in the neck position, so very much like a P-bass and jazz bass single coil. And then blended is just a really awesome kind of Lakeland 5501 Sadowski Music Man hybrid baby that I very much love. The bridge is very nice, solid, with very nice, solid pieces. It is through body construction, but you can also top load it, which I've always liked in basses that you have the option for, because every player has kind of a preference for how they like to string the body, the strings to the body, or on top. 3-band EQ. I went personally with a 9-volt preamp because, nothing against 18 volts, but I always felt that they pushed the signal a little bit too harshly, in my opinion. 9 volts is a nice sweet spot where you still get a nice overhead, but you're not, the sound engineers being like, wow, that's an active bass. And that, like, really, yeah. Very nice push and pull, boost and cut. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how many hertz each way, but it is incredibly quiet. Like, the volume's full on here. I mean, I know my amp's right there, but, treble's all the way maxed out. You don't hear anything like, you don't hear any noise, which is what I like. These are very well shielded instruments.
Nice.
For the top, I chose flame maple, and Jose suggested that we do a trans black finish. I didn't know how it was going to come out, but I actually really, really fell in love. Just because the trans black kind of gives this like nice gun smoke gray, and with the flame maple, it gives like kind of a modern edge to it, but still looks classy. Like, you could bring this bass to, an R&B gig or a metal gig, and no one would think you're obnoxious for bringing it necessarily. Because some basses are really ostentatious. But I also wanted something that anyone could play and like show up to a gig, and that was okay. Really nice thing, the cutaway here goes way past the 24th fret, which is a nice design. Actually, one of my favorite things, especially when you're wearing a strap, you can't see it from here, but this bottom horn here acts as a way for your right leg to balance the bass as well. So like essentially like if I had a strap on, I could literally just be like, keep it here, totally fine. I don't have to worry about my hands. See, like I'm not anything. It just stays here with no neck tie, which I really like. Neck through body construction. One thing I specifically requested is that the neck be satin, so you can kind of see it here, but the body's gloss, so it gives that nice, you know, aesthetic finish. But then for hot stages and things like that, especially, you know, like gloss sometimes can get a little slippery and sticky and whatnot, and I wanted a satin finish for the neck, so I had them degloss the neck. So that's kind of thing. That's going to be standard, which is nice. Oh, also, my bad, very important feature. It's 3-piece maple and then 4 pieces of walnut to reinforce. Now, this is the same construction I have on my fan fret bass that you guys have seen videos on, and it's incredibly stable. I mean, each bass I ask for an initial setup before tour, and at this point with my J Ferros, I have something around 30,000 road miles on them, you know, and that's since last year. And, you know, I think the most I've done with one is one setup, and it's been after 2 U.S. tours, you know, several weeks in the van. But that, it doesn't matter what you own, you're going to have it set up after 2 tours. And the only thing I've had to really change is the strings because, you know, van playing prog metal across the country. But I do love the strings that are on these on stock. These are GHS Progressives, the stainless steels, which I'm an endorsee, which I very much love. Cool features moving on to the neck. I love maple necks. I just think they look really nice, especially with darker body woods. It's a nice contrast. I'm a big fan of Marcus Miller because I'm a human being and Marcus Miller is awesome. And I always love 70s jazz basses, and I always liked those blocks. So I wanted that 70s style, like block inlay. And apart from the fact that they look cool, if you've ever been on a really dark stage, it does help to, you know, I'm mostly a field player, but, you know, you just, it's a little nice something. This is the first batch of basses that come here, so it's going to be all standard black for these. The second batch that's coming later this year are going to have side dots that are lumen lay dots, which are those nice light up ones for no additional cost. It's going to become standard, and they're going to go black perloid. I just wanted this first batch to have kind of a standard, like very universal look to it, which I'm still very happy for. This is still going to be like my main base for all the ladder mouth stuff that I'm going to do, and probably for a lot of session work, and I'm very happy with it. And yeah, it's been great. It's hard to see here. I'm not going to try and zoom in that much because it's hard. I forgot to take a photo of this. But all J Ferro basses have what Warwick and the Yamaha shops have, where if you look at the neck, you don't see that cut on the side of the frets. The frets are literally like, all you feel here is just fingerboard. Like they do put a lot of attention to it for that. So if you look at the top of the fingerboard, you're not going to see those lines, cut lines of the fret, only wood. So it's actually a really nice attention to detail. It's actually kind of a luxury thing or a high-end boutique thing that even a lot of boutique people don't necessarily do, but Jose thought it's a nice thing. It looks nice and it feels nice on your left hand, especially when you're sliding up, you know.
Nice.
Moving up to here, I really like this headstock design. It's an original for Jose. Flame maple as well. I personally didn't want to have my name on the instrument, and it's not, you know, it's just because I was thinking to myself, like, you know, I'm not a vain person. And then on top of that, it's also like, I wanted this bass to be something if a kid bought it. You know, if they bought it, yeah, they like my music, but it's also, I wanted it to be like a utilitarian instrument that anyone can put their name on it, in the sense that this doesn't necessarily have to be like, you have to sound like me to play this. It can just be like a functional piece for anyone. So it just has the Escalon model there. But of course, the KD is the only one that comes with the trans black finish and with the features that stated above. But yep, I really like that little nice logo. It's hard to see here, but there's a little perloid for the J and the J Ferro.
Nice.
The back is a standard 3 and 2. I like this. Jose recently upgraded all his hardware. So, I mean, they had great tuners beforehand, but these are basically hip shot quality tuners. So they're, you know, they have mass to them. It's not the flimsy ones where you like sneeze and then all of a sudden you're out of tune. These actually have to put mass to it, but I prefer that. I don't like flimsy stuff. Speaking of not flimsy things as well, these are all metal buttons. These are not plastic. which I requested as well. All the J Ferro ones, none of them are plastic for the knobs. But if you're touring, anyone that's ever toured with anything wooden or plastic there knows that unless you have techs and like high-tech road cases, those are going to break. And metal is much sturdier. So that's kind of... But so, in summary, that is pretty much the physical aspects of the bass. Oh, and one last thing. As for request, tuners in the back. I mean the
peg.
Strap. Yeah, strap pegs in the back.
Yeah.
It's actually really nice because at first it kind of confused me because I'd never had one like that. But then it actually is even more comfortable to have it like this. And it's kind of nice because like the strap kind of blends in the back, and the horn itself is just beautifully like symmetrical here. So it's kind of like a nice photogenic thing, especially when I'm not playing with the strap. You don't get a little button here, you just get the nice horn. Overall, I want to say it's not heavy at all, like a little lighter than a vintage jazz bass. I mean, mahogany is a nice sturdy wood, but again, it's maple, mahogany. Tone woods are just, I mean, electronics are 90% of your sound on an electric instrument. It's just the truth. But these are woods that mahogany sounds good. That's why all the Les Pauls are made with them. You know, maple, walnut, they're trusted tone woods, and I didn't want to, you know, I wanted something that sounded familiar, but that could also have some edge. So, in conclusion, that is.
So Kilian, it's a beautiful instrument, and so much thought has gone into its conception, both from you and from Jose. And we had the opportunity to see his instruments at the NAMM show, and so I agreed. You know, he does an amazing job, and has been really critically acclaimed by everybody that went by. They were like, "Wow, these are pretty amazing looking instruments." So it's quite, you know, we're so proud of you having a signature bass, even though you haven't put your name on it. But you know, people will know that it's a Kilian Duarte signature bass when they have it. Now, if they want to get something like this for themselves, where's the best place to look?
Yep. So this year we're lucky we're expanding. So pretty much soon we're going to have store retails across the United States. But for right now, to get it is at jferrobass.com. That's JFERROBASS.com. The cool thing about this one, and this was a big point that I wanted to make it, and it's part of the reason also my name is on it, because I wanted it to be something that people could afford and get it just like, it's just an instrument. Like the way that Leo Fender did it, it's the price for the bass is $999.99. So it's $1,000 flat. Nice. So I made that on purpose because I remember being in high school and really liking a lot of gear that some of the guys and bands that I admired played, but you know, I didn't have $4,000. I didn't have $2,000. I had to cut my first bass. I had to cut lawns in Lake Worth, Florida, in a bad neighborhood all summer to get, you know, from my aunt, you know, enough money to pay for my first real bass, which was like a Warwick Streamer Standard, which I still love. It's still great, but it was a whole summer's worth of work. But, you know, $4,000 for, you know, 15, 16-year-old is not, you know, an attainable amount of money unless they're like some crazy entrepreneur. But for most high schoolers, they can't just save up $4,000. It's a lot of money. And I really wanted to do something where it's a really good instrument. I take it on the road. It's exactly what I play with Scale the Summit. It's exactly what I recorded with Scale the Summit. It's exactly what I did on the Felix record. It's exactly what I play with Felix Martin live. It's exactly what I take on the road. So there's nothing different between that. So the same quality goes into it. And $999.99 at jferrobass.com.
Got you. And because this video is not going to lend itself for a good sound sample for people to hear like the recordings or know about tour information about you, where would be a good place for them to get that?
Definitely. I'm going to be posting, actually, I've been collaborating with Alesis and their Head Rush pedals. I'm doing 2 videos that are coming out next week that are going to feature the bass prominently there. It's going to have a little bit of live footage, and it's going to have a lot of in-studio footage to feature the bass. Just me playing solo, then me doing some, obviously the live footage is with Laddermath, which is progressive rock, progressive metal, but you can hear the fullness of it, and you still very prominently hear it in the mix. And then thirdly, I do a loop, so you hear it solo bass, soloed bass and in a band context for those. As for where you can hear other, where I'm going to be uploading more stuff, there's my YouTube channel, which is basically my name, Kilian Duarte Bass. A lot of stuff, Scale the Summit, which is www.facebook.com/scalethesummit. The Felix Martin record features me as well, so Felix Martin on Facebook, and my band here in Boston, Laddermouth. All three of those are my bands that I'm in, and I tour across the country with. So eventually throughout the year, you're going to see a lot of content coming up with this. But the more recent videos that I'm going to have, probably within the next week, is going to be, through the Elisa's Head Rush. My good friend Sarah Longfield, she's going to be posting those videos on her YouTube page as well. So we're going to definitely get some content out for this little guy. But
cool.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Well, and we're very happy for you, man. This is just extraordinary, and it is so great that it is also very obtainable and reachable for so many young musicians, because there are so many obstacles in the path of musicians to be able to get, a good quality instrument, because there's nothing more frustrating than having something that doesn't play well. I mean, it's just we used to run into it back in the day when my son was in band, and a lot of times he was a horn player, and those are expensive too, and some kids would get frustrated because they just couldn't get a good sound out of their instrument that was in their price range, and so something like this does nothing more than inspire you to be creative and to want to play more, because it's, it talks to you. So that's just great.
One of the two main things that I really liked about J Ferro stuff is that it played really nicely, meaning that the necks were stable and I was able to get the action low without having to do anything, and the necks felt great. But two, the stock pickups that come with them are some of the best I've ever heard. So like, obviously it was my signature. I could have been like, put in whatever insert boutique name. It would have increased the price of the bass, but I could have done it. It wasn't a thing. And then I remembered how good the humbucker, because I've had a bass with this specific humbucker configuration, the Arcadia, and I recorded the entire Scale the Summit record with that one and played live with it. So again, these basses were road tests. It's not like I played it in NAMM. I'd be like, oh, it's great. He was like, no, I've flown with these things across the country. I've had to be in recording sessions where people are paying me with deadlines to do this with stuff, and it sounded great. And live, specifically, I'm a dark glass endorsee, and these pickups work so well with overdrive, like ridiculously well with overdrive, and it sounds like a bass 3 times its price. But yeah, it was really important for me to strike a nice balance between something that was really well made. Again, I tour all the time. I'm going back on tour for a month in August. I just came back from tour 2 days ago. I'm pretty much jet lagged constantly. So I needed something that would actually be able to go. It's not like a fake thing where I'm a bedroom bass player being like, oh, it sounds great, but all I do is like, little videos here. It's actually something I need to make sure that if it goes in the case, when I bring it out, the neck isn't like this, that the electronics all of a sudden start making like, what are those weird noises? It has to be sturdy. And he was able to find a way to keep it at $1,000 flat, and I'm very, very happy.
Very cool. Well, Kilian, thanks so much for taking time. Again, I know you're just so extraordinarily busy, for sharing this information about.
I always have time for you.
Oh, appreciate it, man. And what we'll do is we'll make sure to get this information out there. We'll include the links, but people, Kilian Duarte, he's on Facebook. Check him out. I'm sure he'll be posting tour dates and things. He will be in a venue near you at some point, because it sounds like he's, as we like to say in Puerto Rico, like arroz blanco. He's like white rice. He's everywhere. So you need to make sure that you see him.
Yeah, I'm going to be on tour, guys, with Scale the Summit. We are co-headlining with Marty Friedman. We're doing a tour all over the United States, starting and filling and ending in LA, all West Coast, East Coast. So there is a very high propensity I'll be in your hometown in August. And I will be having this bass, and they're sending me a second one, so I might have been using the second bass live, so you can actually hear it live in full context with the band. So yeah.
Very nice. I will mention one last thing because I know somebody will pick up on it. 5-string, right?
Yes, 5-string. And this particular one, when you hear the audio examples, I had it because it's for ladder math. It's tuned A flat to G flat. So this one, you're going to be like, oh, it sounds a little low. This one's set up in A flat. The second one that Jose is sending me at the end of the month is going to be in B standard. They come in B standard. I just requested it because for the tour I was doing, it needed a lower tuning. So this one's set up. And again, with GHS progressives, I believe it is 40 to 131. I believe so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, very cool, man. Again, people, you've seen this exclusive Kilian Duarte signature bass coming to you live on Bass Musician Magazine. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.